And we start off today with one of the most riveting stories of the entire year. A recent AP poll out just recently named police brutality, police racism, the entire situation in Ferguson, also New York, as the top story in the whole country this year, all of 2014. And with so many large portions of the country still struggling to strike that balanced relationship between police and community, Boston Mayor Marty Walsh and Commissioner Bill Evans both say that they're doing something right in Boston. They're reacting to the tension between police and officers and much of the public throughout the U.S. Mayor Walsh says, while we do have our own share of issues between people and the police, the relationship in general is pretty good, in his words. At a police promotion ceremony, there were several references to the two officers shot and killed over the weekend in New York City. And Mayor Walsh says he also worries about the safety of officers because it's inherently a dangerous job. He also says that he believes strong community policing is the main reason violent crime has been down throughout the city. Well, it turns out MassDOT may not be moving to Roxbury after all. The Globe reports the proposal to move the headquarters now in doubt after Governor-elect Charlie Baker got a look at the plans. He says it's proceeding much too quickly for such a large project. It's hundreds of millions of dollars that it would take to get it done, and it would bring changes to Roxbury as well as downtown Boston. A Baker spokesman says a project of this scale and also the impact it would have on the neighborhoods needs much greater public input and discussion. Plans to move MassDOT headquarters from Park Square to Tremont Street in Roxbury, right across from the police headquarters, just emerged in the latest week after the Boston Redevelopment Authority approved the land transfer. In other news, jury selection for the trial of accused marathon bomber Dzhokhar Tsarnaev scheduled to begin January 5th in South Boston. Now, Tsarnaev's lawyers are asking that demonstrators be kept away from the courthouse entrances. That entrance will be used by jurors, witnesses, survivors, all of them alike. Now, last week, you might remember there was some shouting and name-calling happening outside the courtroom there between demonstrators and bombing survivors. Tsarnaev's lawyers actually fear that some of those demonstrators, the ones that actually support Tsarnaev, could impact the potential jurors, and not in a good way. Some of those people arriving to court, the lawyers want to keep them away from the demonstrations. Nearly 1,200 people living in Eastern Mass, maybe some of you, went to the mailbox this week and found a jury summons. It's, of course, the first step will be to screen those people out with a questionnaire. While the jury selection alone could take a while, the trial itself could last up to 6 months. In case you're wondering, one qualification for any jury members, you would have to be open to the idea of the death penalty should Tsarnaev be convicted. Well, it was just about as good as a visit from Santa Claus himself. 5 months after a devastating tornado ripped through Revere, homeowners get help from a special fund set up by the city. Revere Mayor Dan Rizzo personally delivered relief checks to families hit by July's tornado. The city did not qualify for federal disaster money, so instead, Mayor Rizzo started the Tornado Relief Fund to help residents cover things like insurance deductibles and those costs that were not paid for by insurance. The fund collected more than $250,000 from nearly 1,000 different donors. And one Christmas gift at the Salvation Army inspires another one. You might recall the recent story of the woman who donated that wedding ring, the one that belonged to her and her late husband. She gave it to the Salvation Army. Well, on Saturday, Salvation Army Captain Myron Smith says they were emptying all the kettles out from the ones in Brookline, and they found a white envelope. Inside, a letter and a diamond-encrusted cross worth about $1,500.
Having closed this diamond cross, which is symbolic of Christmas, and ask that you sell it and use the money to help those less fortunate this season, as my way of thanking the people of Boston, particularly Brookline, for welcoming us into their hearts.
Now, the note also says a woman and her son had just recently moved here from Australia, and they said everyone had made them feel so welcome and happy again, and they wanted to do something nice in return. They heard the story about those wedding rings, and Smith says a gift like this will go a long way to help some people in need this year, but they're still short of the goal for this season. There's still a few days left for them to reach that goal.